Welcome to the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast from Never Too Late Cafe. I'm your host, Laura Womack. Each week we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, where you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. And I have a very special guest with me today, Angela Arnett-Garner. And we're going to jump into her story of her advocacy and activism. And we'll start with saying hello to Angela. Hi, and welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's nice to be here.
It's good to have you. And so where are you currently living?
I live outside of Stanford, Kentucky. It's between Danville and Somerset, the big recreation area around Lake Cumberland, in South Central Kentucky. But I'm actually from Louisville, Kentucky. I was born and raised in Louisville.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's our connection. I have a lot of Louisville connections, as you know. And so we're going to just have you tell your story about what you're involved in and how you started it. So, all right, let's start with your involvement. You've created a platform, I could say, for, and you explain what you do.
Well, right now I'm working on two separate issues. One is promoting Indigenous Peoples Day to educate people about what Indigenous Peoples Day means, the significance of it, and why we should have federal legislation that would make Indigenous Peoples Day a national holiday. The other issue that I'm working on right now is in trying to change our laws locally and statewide here in Kentucky that would eliminate racist Native American team names and mascots. And last November, I lobbied Lincoln County Fiscal Court, which that's where Stanford is located. And together we passed the first law that prohibits racist Native American team names and mascots, not only in Kentucky, but in the southeastern United States. So I'm very proud of that. It's a beginning. So hopefully we can pass more in various counties and towns across Kentucky and start the discussion about how we can change that for our Indigenous community here in the state.
So how did you get interested in all of this? I mean, that's a big undertaking, but how did it first begin? Was it in childhood? You had family that was interested, or you somehow, how did it begin?
Well, so I was raised in the First Unitarian Universalist Church on 4th and York in Louisville, Kentucky. And, as you probably know, the Unitarian Universalists, that's their bottom line, is they promote activism. And my mother was an activist, and I can remember after church we would meet in this community hall called Bro Hall, and they would have coffee and they would serve, various snacks. And my mother would stand around and talk about activism in the Louisville area with other parishioners of the church. And so that's how it all got started, and I was maybe 4 years old, and I was clasping my mother's hand and hearing her talk about activism. And it just really rang true for me. It's just who I am, and the deepest part of my soul is changing laws and trying to make situations and make society better for others, even if it's in a small way. So that's how I got started.
And how Indigenous people?
Well, my mother was always fascinated by indigenous culture and history. And when we would go on family trips, she would always incorporate, um, national monuments and various, museums and, uh, the whole schmear to try to educate my brother and I about indigenous culture and history and the contemporary problems that they face in society. A lot of people don't realize that they still exist, and there's a thriving community of indigenous people here in Kentucky. And so that's how it really got started. And so much of their belief system and how they approach life really resonates for me. Really is something that I I also believe. And their approach to preserving and protecting the environment, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and a spiritual approach to life rather than a religious one, but a spiritual approach to all things living, to preserve and protect, wildlife and our Mother Earth. And so it just really is sort of a package of my past, my childhood, what my mother taught me and shared with me, um, and what I appreciate in indigenous people and their belief systems.
So does that, for clarification, does that have a broader context besides just Native Americans?
Yeah, I believe it does. Um, I believe a lot of what Native Americans teach, we can all learn from in society, not just in the United States, but worldwide. I think we can all appreciate, um, their approach to living and protecting, and um, as opposed to the consumer culture
Mm.
of just consuming and just using the Mother Earth for whatever use that we have, and then moving on to another area. But really, um, seeing it in spiritual terms, that it's sacred. Everything is sacred. Um, I think we can all learn from,
Mm-hmm.
especially in this day and age.
So, um, some of your accomplishments, can you sort of go down the list? You have a lot that you've done. So I know that you got um, the day, and you're working on some other. So you've been doing this for a long time? I mean, how long has this been part of your life?
For years and years.